Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum to all. My name is Subhan Mughal and I am the student of Mechatronics Engineering in Air University, Islamabad. So this is my first ever YouTube video, and in this video I will explain to you 20 components. So this is the task assigned to me. So let's get started and move on to our first component. So our first component is the carbon film resistor. So in 3 headings I will conclude each component. So let's start with our first heading, carbon film resistor and what it does. So basically I'm gonna zoom it. A carbon film resistor is like a traffic light for electricity. It slows down the flow of electricity in a circuit, just in the same way traffic lights slow down the cars. And if I talk about how it works, it's made up of a ceramic rod with a thin layer of a carbon on it. This carbon acts like a narrow path for electricity to travel. The longer and narrower the path, the more it slows down the electricity. And if I talk about where we can see it, we can see these electronic devices in our TVs, computers, and even in our toys. I hope you understand it well, because I am trying to explain these in an easy wording and conclude them in a 3 to 4 lines. Okay, so let's move on to our next component. So our next component is high stability film resistor. So let's start with what it does. The high stability film resistor is like a really precise traffic light for electricity. It controls the flow of electricity very carefully, making sure it is always the same. And if I talk about how this works, it's made like that regular resistor but with a special coating and a sealed glass case. This makes it super stable and reliable even when the things get hot and cold. And if we talk about where we can see it, I think we can find these resistors in a special devices that need a very accurate measurements, like a scientific instruments. I hope you understand it well. So let's move on to our next component. So our next component is named as Wirewound potentiometer. So let's start with the first heading, what it does. For this potentiometer, imagine a knob that controls the volume on your stereo. A potentiometer or a pot is like that knob for electricity. It lets you adjust the amount of electricity flowing through a circuit. Okay, I'm repeating. It lets you adjust the amount of electricity flowing through a circuit, because I said imagine a knob that controls the volume on your stereo. And if I talk about how it works, it is made up of a coil of a wire with a sliding contact called as a wiper. As you turn the knob, the wiper moves along the wire, changing the amount of electricity that can flow. And if I talk about where I can see it, we can see it. You will find potentiometers in many devices like stereos, guitars, and even some light switches. So without wasting any time, let's move on to our next component. Our next component is glass capacitor. So let's talk about it, what it does. A glass capacitor stores electrical energy and helps stabilize electric signals. It is commonly used in high frequency applications due to its low frequency and due to its high frequency. I'm sorry, I got confused. And if I talk about what it does, a glass capacitor stores electrical energy and helps stabilize electric signals. It is commonly used in high frequency applications due to its less properties. And if I talk about how it works, it consists of multiple layers of aluminium foil layered separated by the thin layers of the glass. This glass acts as a dielectric, allowing the capacitor to store charge. The layered arrangement increases the surface area, enhancing capacitance. And if I talk about where we can see it, glass capacitors are often found in radio transmitters, receivers, and some audio equipment. They are well suited for high frequency applications due to their less characteristics. I hope you understand it well. I was confused about this, but I managed. So our next component is multi-layer ceramic capacitor. So if I talk about what it does, their short form is MLCC. MLCCs are like tiny batteries that store electricity. They help keep electrical signals steady and key in electronic devices. And if I talk about how this component works, MLCCs are made of a stacked layers of a ceramic and a metal. The ceramic acts as an insulator, while the metal layer metal layers store the electricity. When you connect an MLCC to a circuit, it can store electricity and release it when needed. And where we can see it, MLCCs are found in almost all electronic devices, from smartphones to computers. Okay, I'm gonna zoom it so you can see it clearly. They are especially important in devices that need fast and reliable electrical signals. Okay, I hope you understand. So let's move on to our next component. So our next component is ceramic disc capacitor. What it does: the ceramic disc capacitor is like a tiny battery that stores electricity. It helps smooth out electrical signals and keep things running smoothly. And if I talk about how it works, it's made up of a ceramic disc with a thin metal plates on either side. When electricity flows throughout the capacitor, it stores some of it in the ceramic. And where we can see it, we can find these capacitors in many electronic devices, from radios to computers. Almost we can say all. So this was very easy. I hope you understand it well. So let's move on to our next component. So our next component is surface mount inductor. So let's start about it, what it does. Surface mount inductors, and short form SMIS, are used to store electrical energy in a magnetic field. They are commonly used in electronic circuits to filter out unwanted frequencies and stabilize power supplies. And if I talk about how this works, SMIs are made with a coil of wire wound around a magnetic core. When electrical current flows through the coil, it creates a magnetic field. This magnetic field stores energy and can be used to induce a voltage in another circuit. And where we can see it, the surface mount inductors can be found in various electronic devices, including cell phones, tablets, laptops, and audio equipment. If we talk about in cell phones, they help filter out noise and improve the overall performance of the device. And in tablets, they are used in similar applications as in cell phones. In the laptops, they are used in power supplies and other circuits to ensure stable and efficient operation. And in audio equipments, they are used to filter out unwanted frequencies and improve the sound quality. So let's move on to our next component. So basically, polar aluminium chip capacitor. Polar aluminium chip capacitors, short form PACCS, are used to store electrical energy in electronic devices. They are a newer type of the capacitor that offers several advantages over traditional electrolytic capacitors. And if I talk about how this works, PACCS are made with a flat layer of aluminum foil instead of rolled up design used in the traditional electrolytic capacitors. Okay, the aluminum foil is etched and oxidized to create a porous surface which helps increase the capacitance. A conductive polymer is used as a cathode, replacing the liquid electrolyte found in the traditional capacitors. This design allows PACCs to be smaller and thinner than the traditional electrolytic capacitors. And if I talk about where we can find these capacitors, we can find these capacitors in smartphones, tablets, and also in laptops. Their small size and high performance make them ideal for devices where space is limited. So let's move on to the film capacitor. A film capacitor, what it does. Film capacitors are used to store electrical energy in electronic circuits. They are known for their high quality and reliability, making them suitable application for the precision and performance are critical. How it works. Film capacitors are made up layering the strips of a plastic film with the metal electrodes. The plastic film acts as an insulator while the metal electrode stores the electrical charge. The layers are then rolled up and coated with epoxy resin to protect them and provide a finished product. So where we can find it, film capacitors are commonly found in a high quality audio equipment such as headphones, amplifiers, and record players. They are also used in other electronic devices that require precision timing and a low distortion. So our next component is aluminium electrolytic capacitor. I'm gonna zoom so you can see it clearly. Okay, so let's start with what it does. Their short form is AECS, and they are like the big batteries that store a lot of electricity. They are used in devices that need a steady supply of the power. And if I talk about how it works, AECS are made with a metal can filled with a special fluid. Inside there are two rolled up metal strips separated by a paper. One strip has a coating that acts as an insulator, while the other connects to the outside. When you connect an AEC to a circuit, it can store electricity and release it as needed. And where we can find it, AECS are used in many electronic devices like power supplies, audio equipment, and also in our computers. They are important for providing a stable and reliable source of electricity. So you can see it. So let's move on to our next component. This is the push button switch. This is a simple electrical component. You can see it. And if I talk about what it does, a push button switch is a simple electrical component that is used to control the flow of current in a circuit. When you press the button, it completes the circuit, allowing electricity to flow. When you release the button, the circuit is broken and the flow of electricity stops. It's simple. And how it works, push button switches typically have a spring loaded button and two metal contacts. When you press the button, it moves a metal washer down against the contacts, connecting them and completing the circuit. When you release the button, the spring pushes the washer back up, breaking the circuit. This type of a switch is called a normally open switch because it gives an open circuit unless the button is pressed. And then our last heading, where we can find it. These buttons are often found in a hobby electronics projects. They are not commonly used in a commercial products. However, the basic principle of operation applies to other, more common types of a push button switches that are used in a various electronic devices. So our next component is rectifier bridge. Rectifier bridge. What it does, a rectifier bridge are used to convert alternating current voltage into a direct current voltage. This process is essential for powering electronic devices that require a steady, unidirectional flow of electricity. And if I talk about how it works, a rectifier bridge consists of 4 diodes arranging in a specific configuration. You can see this in a picture. And when an AC voltage is applied to the bridge, the diodes allow current to flow in only one direction, effectively converting the AC voltage into a DC voltage. This results in pulsating DC output, which can be further smoothed out using a capacitor. And if I talk about where we can find it, rectifier bridges are commonly found in power supplies that plug into the wall outlets. They are also used in various other electronic devices that require DC voltage. So give examples: audio equipment, computers, industrial equipment. In audio equipments, amplifiers and other audio components often use rectifier bridge to convert AC voltage from the power outlet to DC voltage required for their operation. In computers, power supplies in the computers use rectifier bridges to convert the AC input voltage to the DC voltage needed for the internal components. And in the industrial equipment, rectifier bridges are used in various industrial applications to power machinery and other equipments. So this is our next component, which is named as compact power fuse. This is also the information about it, but I'm gonna explain it in also the 3 headings. So let's start with what it does. Suppose a compact power fuses are used to protect electronic devices from overvoltage and overcurrent conditions. They act as a safety mechanism by interrupting the electrical current flow when it exceeds a current limit. And how it works, compact power fuses contain a fusible limit, which is typically made of a metal. when the current flowing through the fuse exceeds its rated value, the fusible element melts, breaking the circuit and stopping the flow of electricity. This prevents damage to the electronic devices. And where we can find it? So compact power fuses are commonly found in various electronic devices, including handheld, digital multimeters, power supplies, audio equipment, and automotive electronics. And inside them, they protect the multimeter from a damage caused by excessive current or a voltage, and in a power supplies they protect the power supply from overload and a short circuit conditions. And if we talk about audio equipments, they are used in amplifiers and other audio components to prevent damage caused by the excessive current. In automotive electronics, they have the almost same work. They are used in various automotive components to protect them from electrical faults. So let's move on to our next component. So this is our next component, which is named as power supply transformer. You can see it. Let's start about it. What it does. Power supply transformers are used to convert AC voltage from a wall outlet to a multiple lower AC voltages that can be used to power various components in electronic devices. And if we talk about how it works, a transformer has two sets of windings, primary and secondary. So first start about this primary winding. The primary winding is connected to the input AC voltage, and the magnetic field created by the current flowing through the primary winding induces a voltage into the secondary windings. The number of turns in each winding determines the output voltage ratio. Where we can find it? Power supply transformers are found in a wide range of the electronic devices, including computers, televisions, audio equipment, and industrial equipment. And I think I forgot about the secondary windings, so let's start to talk about the secondary windings. So the magnetic field created by the current flowing through the primary winding induces a voltage. In the secondary windings, the number of the turns in each winding determines the output voltage ratio. And I was talking about where we can find it in computers, televisions, audio equipment, and industrial equipment. Computers they are used to convert the AC voltage from the wall outlet to the DC voltage required by the computer's components. And in televisions, they are used to convert the AC voltage from the wall outlet to the DC voltage required by the TV's circuitry. And in audio equipment, they are used to convert the AC voltage from the wall outlet to the DC voltage required by the amplifiers and other audio equipment. And in the industrial equipment, they are used in various industrial applications to power machinery and other equipment. So this is our power supply transformer. So without wasting any time, let's move on to our next component. Our next component is dual inline package, DIP ICS. So this is the component which is named as dual inline package. Let's start to talk about it, what it does. DIPs are a type of a package used for integrated circuit ICS with a larger number of the connecting pins. They provide reliable and easy to use way to connect ICs to the other components on a circuit board. And how it works? DIPs have two parallel rows of pins which are connected to the IC's internal circuitry through the bond wires. These pins are inserted into the sockets on the circuit board, establishing electrical connections between the IC and the other components. These pins, you can see it. So let's start about where we can find DIPs. DIPs were once a very common type of a package for ICs, but they have been largely replaced by the smaller and more modern packaging technologies such as surface mount technologies, short form SMT. However, DIPs are still used in some applications, especially for older and low volume products. So this is our next component named as ball grid array. You can see it, there are balls there. So let's start. Their short form, of course, BGAs, are used to connect electronic chips to the circuit boards in a compact and efficient way. They are commonly used in a modern electronic devices where space is limited. And if we talk about how it works, BGAs have a grid of a tiny soldered balls on the underside of the chip. I have shown you also. Zoom it. These solder balls are connected to the chip's internal circuitry through a redistribution layer RDL, which is a thin printed circuit board embedded in the package. When the BGA is heated and placed on a circuit board, the solder balls melt and form a connections within the pads on the board. Let's talk about where we can find these electronic devices: in smartphones, in laptops, and other complex electronics. In smartphones, laptops, I hope you get it. And if we talk about the other complex electronics, BGAs are used in many other electronic devices where space is limited and high density connections are required. And in smartphones, they are used to connect the processor, memory, and other components to the motherboard. And in the laptop, they are used in the similar way as in the smartphones. So let's move on to our next component, which is surface mount LED. First of all, you can see it, then I will gonna explain it from here. So let's start with what it does. The main heading: the surface mount LEDs, in short form SMDs, are small energy efficient light sources that are widely used in electronic devices. They emit light when electrical current passes through them. How it works: SMDs are made with a semiconductor die that emits light when electricity flows through it. The die is mounted on a small circuit board and encased in a plastic lens. The plastic lens helps focus the light and protect the LED. And where we can find it? Yes, we can find it in cell phones, computers, TVs, automotive electronics, and also in the consumer electronics. In cell phones, they are used for the display, backlighting, and a camera flash. And in the computers, they are used for the display, keyboard, and the backlighting, the power indicator lights. And if we talk about in the TVs, they are used for the display and the backlighting in the same way as in the computers and in the cell phones. In automotive electronics, they are used for a headlight, tail lights, and interior lighting. In consumer electronics, they are used in a wide range of the other devices such as remote controls, calculators, and digital clocks. So this is all about the surface mount LEDs, short form SMTs. So let's move on to our next component. So our next component is tactile switch. You can watch it. This is the tactile switch. Okay, let's talk about it. What it does: tactile switches are used to provide a physical response when a button is pressed. Okay, they are commonly found in electronics and appliances where tactile feedback is desired. And how it works: tactile switches have a thin metal dome inside the switch. When you press the button, the dome collapses, completing electrical circuit. When you release the button, the dome springs back into the shape, breaking the circuit. This action creates a satisfying clicking sound and a distinct tactile feel. And where we can find it: tactile switches are used in various electronic devices including optical disc driver, home entertainment systems, electronic, and appliances. In optical disc drives, the eject button often uses a tactile switch to provide feedback when pressed. And in a home entertainment systems, buttons on a front panels or remote controls often use a tactile switches for a responsive feel. And in electronics and applications, many other devices such as calculators, keyboards, and applications may use tactile switches for various functions. So our next component is micro SD card. I hope you all know about it. This is very easy, not very complicated. So let's start to talk about it, what it does. A micro SD card is a tiny memory storage device used to expand the storage capacity of various electronic devices like your smartphones, like your tablets and in your cameras. And how it works: inside a micro SD card there is a memory chip that stores data. This chip is encased in a plastic case with a golden plated connector pins. When inserted into the compatible device, these pins make contact with the device's circuitry, allowing data transfer. And we can find these in smartphones, tablets, cameras and other electronic devices. This is very easy. I don't think we have to talk too much about it. So let's watch what is our next, and I think this is our last component to explain. What is this? 15-turn trimmer potentiometer. First of all, you can watch it, then I will gonna explain it. 15-turn trimmer potentiometer. This is also the explanation about it, but I'm trying to explain in easy words and in 3 headings what it does, how it works, and where you might find it, so you can understand it easily. This is also explanation, but I think students cannot get it. So let's start to talk about it, what it does. A 15-turn trimmer potentiometer is a variable resistor that allows you to adjust resistance value in a circuit with a fine precision. It's often used in circuits that require precise control over the electrical signals. And if we talk about how it works, inside a 15-turn trimmer potentiometer, there's a resistive strip with a wiper. Turning an adjustment screw moves the wiper along the strip, changing the resistance between the wiper and the ends of the strip. This allows you to gradually adjust the resistance value. Where we can find it? The 15-turn trimmer potentiometers are commonly used in audio equipment, scientific instruments, industrial control systems, and hobby electronics. In scientific instruments for a precise measurement and a control, in industries control system to regulate processes and equipment, in hobby electronics for a building custom circuits and devices, in audio equipment to adjust the volume, tone or other settings. So you can watch it. This is 15-turn trimmer potentiometer. So this was our last component. So I have tried my best to conclude all these 20 components in 3 headings and to minimize them and make in easy words and easy examples, like with the real life examples. Many of them are used in the computers, in our mobiles and in our radio systems. Yes. So thank you so much guys. Allah Hafiz. Stay blessed and stay happy.